Hey everyone, it's the Film School Snobs here. Jalen, of course, my co-host Alex. Today
Well,
we're joined by two of our special guests here, Mr. Waldinn and Mr. Josh here. As you can see, all our handsome faces, we're doing something pretty differently today because we're here to talk about something very special. It's something that's been talked about for the past few days now. It's the hottest game out right now. Game of the Year nominee, and of course, is SpongeBob, Battle for Bikini Bottom here. We're gonna
best
go
game I
in
ever
depth.
played, hands
Yeah,
down.
man, we're going in depth with this right now. Nah, I'm kidding.
Oh man.
Of course, as you can tell by my T-shirt, we're here to talk about The Last of Us Part 2. We're
Hold
gonna
on, you didn't
go.
even play the game. It's still sealed. I don't get
Listen,
it.
man, it's for my collection purposes, right? It sits right on my shelf. I got
Still
the
has it in
download.
the cellophane wrap. Oh
Like, that's what
man.
I'm
bro.
saying. Talk about let's
Listen,
review.
listen, man, I'm trying to get that GameStop trade in. You know what I mean? But yeah, we're going completely in depth with it. So if you haven't played the game yet, click off, save this video, come back to it, because we're going into it. Full spoilers, no holds bars. So I don't know. I guess before we start, can we just get our brief thoughts as to what we all thought about the game? Josh, let's start with you. What did you think about The Last of Us Part 2?
So, I mean, my opinions are going to be, I guess, a little bit more controversial. I love the game for what it's worth. I think it's top 5 in Sony's catalog for the PlayStation 4. But as the game progressed on, I started to lose focus of what it was about, and that's where I start to get a little bit more critical of it. Personally, I'm in the boat of an 8.5 or a 9 for the game. Above that, I'm a little bit against that, but 8.5/9 is where I would say that I land for the game. I enjoyed it a lot. It's a really fun game. Mechanically, it plays beautifully. Graphically, one of the best on the console at the moment, but it does fall short in a few story aspects that prevents me from giving it that 9.5 to 10 that a lot of people are giving it, I would say.
So you hate it. Cool.
Yes.
Walden, what did you think about it?
Honestly, I spent 25 hours playing this game. I thought this game ended 3 different times.
That's facts.
Thinking about it more and more, I tried not to be harsh on the game, but also try not to jump on that bandwagon I see everybody on right now, giving it 10 out of 10. It's perfect masterpieces. I don't really think this game is a masterpiece. I think it dragged on a little too much at the end. The last 2 to 3 hours or so, I think in my mind, I was like, okay, the game ended. This is a perfect ending. Boom, jump, and then it set us right into more gameplay. But honestly, I do agree with Josh. This is one of the best games for the PS4, hands down. If I had to make a list, this would probably be top 3 in my opinion. But I will say this game, it will have a lasting impact. I think we now have a new character in Sony's repertoire in Abby. I think we're going to be seeing her everywhere from now on.
Oh, for sure. I mean, we already are with the memes and everything.
Yeah.
So, how about you, Alex? What you think about The Last of Us Part 2?
Yeah, I absolutely love the game. It's such a unique experience. It's unlike any game I've ever played before. Whereas with other games, I feel powerful when I kill a whole swarm of enemies. Like when I play Uncharted and I just blow up an entire train. Yay, it's fun. But in this game, when I snap someone's neck or something, I feel devastated. I can feel the impact of their death. So I absolutely love that about the game. And yeah, I will agree that it has some pacing issues, especially towards the end. It has a Return of the King ending, which if any of you have seen that movie, it's that movie doesn't end either. It has multiple endings where it could have stopped and it just didn't. But yeah, this definitely has a Return of the King ending. And yeah, there are some pacing problems, and I do have some issues with the second half of the game, but otherwise I did absolutely love the game, and I love the world they put us in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much in agreement with all you guys. Yeah, I absolutely loved it. And I think it says something because, well, one, Naughty Dog proved me wrong. Josh, I remember back in high school when we first played The Last of Us, I was saying repeatedly, I do not want a sequel to this game.
Yeah.
It's a perfect ending point. Don't do it. Because, I mean, you got all these questions at the end of it. It's oh, does Ellie believe him? Does she trust him at this? And it's if you have a sequel, then Neil Druckmann, he's going to give us a definitive answer, right? But it's still, this game blew me away in every sense of the way. Yeah, the pacing, it's not perfect at all. You definitely feel the length of it a little after the halfway point. but I liked the way that it told its story, and I liked how unafraid it was to really actually go in those bold directions for the story and with those characters. And yeah, I mean, they could have made like a cookie cutter. Oh, let's have another Joel and Ellie adventure and explore their relationship. But they do something really bold with it, and you're either gonna be with it or against it. For me, I was with it all the way through. Yeah, I mean, I know you guys said you wouldn't call it a masterpiece, but for me, this is like my favorite game on the PS4. And it's gonna be a while before any game tops it for a while for me. But yeah, I don't know. I really love this one. And I had about 27 hours in my first playthrough. I'm going for the platinum now. I don't know if I'll play it again after that because Alex, like you said, it's very a devastating game to get through. But yeah, that's just how much it sticks with you after a while. So yeah, I mean, we all seem to like it, to love it. I was hoping we get at least one person who hated the game, but apparently you guys are all Sony fanboys, so we'll do what we gotta do.
I'm waiting for that paycheck. I'm waiting for Sony's giving me that paycheck for giving them positive reviews.
Listen, man, once this video goes up,
I wish.
We're gonna get it. Don't you worry. So before we jump into part 2 specifically, I guess it's very important that we talk about the ending of The Last of Us 1, because clearly it all leads into this game, into the story of this game. So I just want to ask you guys, how did you guys feel about Joel's decision at the end of The Last of Us 1? I guess we can start with Alex. Like, did you agree with his decision? Do you understand it? What's your thoughts on that?
I don't know if I necessarily agree with it. Then again, I imagine I'd probably do the same thing in his shoes, but it's definitely not a good thing that he did. Like, he murdered a whole lot of people in that hospital, and he basically prevented the world from fixing itself by taking away the vaccine from everybody by saving Ellie's life. And more specifically, he did lie to Ellie about it too, and you could tell that Ellie didn't trust him afterwards. And so, are we deep into spoilers now? Can I start spoiling stuff?
Yeah, of course, for sure.
Yeah, and so you could see why the events of this game play out the way they do, why Abby ends up killing Joe, and why they're just like stuck in this perpetual cycle of like revenge and violence. Because Joe was acting very selfishly, and he had the opportunity to end all this, but he didn't. He chose to continue with his bad deeds.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree with that. It was definitely a selfish choice. The fact that he chose to save Ellie rather than save the rest of the world. And the more that I played the game throughout the years and the more we talked about it throughout the years, I've always said, like, I don't know if he saved Ellie necessarily for Ellie, more so he saved her for himself, because that was like his last strand to humanity. So it's like him losing Ellie, that's it for him. He lost his daughter already. He's given up on the world. Ellie gave him this newfound hope, and for him to lose her again, it's going to destroy him. So I definitely understand it's a selfish choice, but at the same time, I definitely understand why he did it. And yeah, like you said, in his shoes, I probably would have done the same thing. If I had his same special powers of having all these weapons in my backpack and seeing people through walls, I would have lit that hospital up to save Ellie, I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
I don't know. I mean, I don't have the same connection with The Last of Us 1 or Part 1 that you guys do. I was probably the last person to play it. I beat it back in December just passed, December 2019.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, I knew the story, but I was like, you know what? Last of Us Part 2 is coming out. Let me play it for myself. When I got to the end, by the time I got to the end, I'm thinking to myself, yo, I just played as the villain for the last 20 hours. Like, this man, I feel as if his true colors popped out as soon as that portion of the game in The Last of Us 1 where you have to find Ellie after he wakes up from being impaled, and he's interrogating those two guys. Right. Once I saw that scene, I was like, oh, I see what Naughty Dog did here. Like, I'm supposed to feel like, I'm justified doing this. Yo, he straight up murdered those two guys. He could have followed Ellie's blood trail to her, but he decided to murder these two guys. So when I got to the ending, I wasn't too surprised in what he did, but it had me feeling like, wow, this man just doomed the entire human race just so that he can have a daughter again. That's not his daughter. So, jumping into The Last of Us Part 2, I was like, yeah, I saw this coming. 100%.
Yeah, for sure. How about you, Josh? I'm pretty sure you feel pretty much the same way.
Yeah, I mean, the ending was. I think that's the masterpiece of The Last of Us 1, and I'm in the boat where I think Last of Us 1 is better than Last of Us 2. Not mechanically, obviously, or graphically, but in terms of the story, like that's such a heavy ending to leave your players with, like, because at the time when I played it, I would say that were we sophomores in high school?
So I think freshmen, honestly.
Yeah, we were pretty young, and I don't think I realized the gravity of the decision that Joel made at that point in time. Mm-hmm. And a part of me regrets not actually going back and playing the game before playing Last of Us 2, because I felt like Last of Us 2 would have a much more deeper impact on me by playing it, the first one. That being said, yeah, that ending was that was I keep repeating this over and over, I think, to Waldinn again. This man damned the whole human race because he was feeling a few emotions. And I get it. I really do get it. But at the same time, like, he held the key to the world. And I know you could figuratively say Ellie was his world or something like that, but I don't think anyone in that world, you tell them what he did, would, like, forgive him. And that's why I feel like at the camp in the beginning of Last of Us 2, they're trying to be so low-key about it. Like, I can't tell anyone about that. Because, like, I think it's universally said anyone would hate him for that decision. And, I figured, spoilers, obviously, I figured towards the end he would have been like, I see what you're trying to say, but this man said I'll do it all again. I'm just like, damn it, why? But, yeah, that's my take on the ending.
Yeah, no, I definitely get that, because, I mean, going back to what you were saying, Waldinn, the game pretty much points it in your face. Joel is not a good man.
No, not
even
at all.
Tess tells him, like, yeah, we're shitty people, and he's like, nah, he tries to justify, like, yeah, we're survivors, we're supposed to do this, but at the end of the day, like, you're a piece of garbage. But I'll still stick with it, like, nah, Joel's the ride or die, I would have done the same thing in his shoes. But having said all that, so we'll go into Last of Us 2 talk now. Since we're on the subject, let's talk about what Abby does at the start of this game that pisses everybody off. Made everybody give this game a 0 out of 10 off the rip. Didn't even finish it. So what we know is that the surgeon that Joel kills at the Firefly Hospital in the first game, apparently he has a daughter named Abby. And because of that, she's hell-bent on avenging her father. And she goes out and kills Joel about, 4 years later? And she murders him with a golf club. So the first question I want to point to you guys, because I'm seeing conversations all over the internet about this, and it's kind of weird to me because it feels like, well, I don't know. I don't want to say anything yet, but I just want to get your guys' opinion. Was it out of character for Joel to be in that situation? Anybody could jump in with this. Like, do you guys feel like the game kind of set him up in a way that kind of goes against his character, or do you feel like this was a natural progression for him?
Honestly, I think it might have been a natural progression rather. They just escaped the snowstorm. They just escaped the horde. Now, there had to have been how many people there surrounding Joel and Tommy? What, like 20 people probably in that room?
It was about 7.
It was, no, just outside. Like outside. In the room, yeah, it was smaller, but when they got to the camp, it was a lot of people in that camp at that resort house. So they get there, and then Joel and Tommy go into the room. They're introducing themselves. My name is Joel. This is Tommy. And then I saw a lot of people had trouble with that. Like, Joel, why would you announce yourself knowing that you have all of these enemies? But now you're thinking to yourself, yo, I just saved this girl. I'd be thinking, okay, yeah, she's grateful. She's not going to pull out a shotgun and take off my entire kneecap. When I saw that, I was like, oh, okay. I was like, wow. But truthfully, I think Joel was acting completely in character, because I thought to myself, okay, if I was in the situation, yeah, I'd feel a little cozy. I just saved this girl's life. I just brought back somebody that you guys care about. So I would be thinking, okay, you guys are going to feel a little grateful. So yeah, let me introduce myself. Let me introduce my brother.
See, I would have to disagree with that because Joe. Okay, so we're playing throughout Last of Us 2 beyond that point, and we're getting all these little hints from Ellie that are dropped about these just survival shit. Like with the bombs and seeing the wires, and we're seeing all these small tips, and it's just like, yo, Joel knew so much about this world, and a part of me just feels like maybe he got numbed out by Jackson, and maybe his survival instinct isn't as good as it used to be. But I really feel like given all of the knowledge this man has, and he doesn't know these people at all. Like, yes, granted, you did save their life, but I feel like Joel was so, like, this makes me hate Joel more because I feel like Joel was so comfortable with his sins that he didn't bother to think for a minute that there could be actual people out there that were upset by his decision. So it did feel a little bit out of character for me, I would say, because it was just like, you have all this survival knowledge, yet you're going to go announcing yourself to these people in a room that you barely know. Again, there could be two sides to it. It could be that he's numbed out because of Jackson, or that he just completely forgot all of his transgressions and he thinks that it's okay to go spewing his name. So,
well, the way I felt about it was that, like, yeah, he was kind of a bit numbed out because, like, he was like starting to live a more peaceful life in Jackson, where he didn't have to go out there and survive all the time. He could, like, sit back and relax, play guitar with Ellie and whatever. So his survival instincts weren't kicking in all the time. He was learning to be a lot less aggressive with people, I'd say. And not only that, but, like, they did just, like, escape from a huge horde of infected people. And so they said, oh, we have a safe haven here. So he went there and he was grateful. And then he said, oh, we can help you out a little if you want. So that was my interpretation of the scene. I didn't even know it was, like, controversial until, like, a couple of days ago, where people were like, honestly, oh, Joe wouldn't do that. It's like, really? Like, we're complaining about that now?
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I feel about it. Because, I mean, even within the first game, the whole point of it is Joel's transformation. At the start, we see him transform from a loving dad who lost everything to now he's hardened and grizzled. But then he meets another little girl who gives him that shred of humanity again. And now he's, now he transforms a little bit to, well, maybe I should start being more trusting towards people. Even like the people he meet throughout that game. What's his name? Henry and Sam and Bill and all those people had like a direct impact on him. Like, maybe this whole jaded, cynical way I'm looking at life now, maybe it's not warranted. It's even, and that's why I love that game so much, because even in the details, like, the little notes you find, and then it's like, it details all these survivors' stories. At first, he's like, Ellie asks him, like, oh, you think they found each other? And he's like, well, how the hell should I know? I don't care. But by the end of the game, you get to the university, and then you read up a college student's journal, and he's asking himself, like, oh, I wonder if you guys made it out. So it's like, it's showing that progression, like, oh, I'm starting to be more human. I'm starting to empathize with people more. So going into this game, yeah, I think it's completely in character for him, especially 4 years living in Jackson. And you read the notes in this game too, it's like they bring in people into Jackson all the time. So he would think like, it's not that big of a deal. Like you guys are saying, I saved your life. I saved your friend's life. Maybe a little gratitude will bring you back to Jackson like we always do. But it is that moment too, with your point, Josh, I agree, where it's like, oh, you don't really think about the fact that people are out to get you anymore. And I guess too, because it's like he kind of killed Marlene at the end of the game, where he's like, no, you'll just come back for her. He thought it was like dead there. It's like, nah, dude, there's still a bunch of fireflies out there that wants to kill you. But no, I think it was definitely in character for him. And even in that situation, you could see him kind of like try to size up everybody once he realizes what's going on. But yeah, he doesn't really look at Abby, because it's like, well, I just saved your life and you're this girl, I'm not gonna, I trust you at this point. So yeah, I didn't really get that complaint about it. But the other point too, that whole scene there, which I'll just say right now, I thought it was the best scene in the game, just how well directed it was, and how it set up the story. It was just, and the acting, perfect. But I know specifically Waldinn and Josh, you guys feel a way about this. Was Abby justified in killing Joe right there?
Ooh.
Let's just start there.
So I don't think anyone is justified in, booking a flight across America to go bang someone in with a golf club. That'd be a little bit odd to justify that. But at the same time, I don't think Abby was justified, but I do, in some sort of strange way, believe in the karma cycle, where This was eventually going to happen. If it wasn't her, it would have been one of the 9,000 fireflies on Santa Barbara chilling. Is it Santa Barbara? No, what was it? What island?
No, it was Santa Barbara.
It was Santa
Well,
Barbara,
I think it was
No,
Catalina
Catalina.
Island. Yeah,
Catalina
where the
Island.
fireflies are actually at.
Yeah. So I figured at some point one of them would come to get it. Do I think Abby in particular was justified? No. Her reasoning, I feel like she was more biased towards her father than rather him damning the whole human race. I would love to see what decision she would have made if he didn't kill her father. And chances are I don't think she would have went after him in that case. So no, I don't I love her as a character, but I don't think she was justified, no.
I don't think she was justified either, but I do understand what Naughty Dog was doing in this situation and how it really tied into her entire story. Because even though she was completely scarred by what Joel did to her father, killing him didn't give her any peace. As we see throughout the entire game, as we see how Joel's death led to her actions throughout the entire rest of the game, from being more open-minded to Lev, and what was his sister's name again?
Yara?
Yara?
Yeah, Yara. Yes. Yara.
One of those two.
One of those two. to Lev and Yara, and the thing that really got me is when she got back to the marina, to the not marina, it was to the aquarium, and she thought back of them hanging with their entrails out, thinking like, oh wow, like my conscience is really shot now, because now I don't want to see these kids die. You know, the same way how, and I think that really started when she killed Joel. You know, because she could have easily killed Ellie and Tommy right there, but she stopped. But she stopped.
Yeah.
Should she have killed Ellie and Tommy? Hey,
listen, it would have made it so much easier.
Hey, that's a different story. But with justification, I mean, is anybody really justified for killing another person? Yeah. You know, Joel wasn't justified in killing her father, but he did it, and he had to live with that for the rest of his life, for the remainder 3 years of his life, and it brought him no peace. He thought about the sin that he made in damning the entire human race. But then, you know, I don't know, the term justification here. I don't know, because I can't think of this entire game being justified. If we're talking about was it justifiable for her to kill Joel, because, you know, was Ellie justified in doing everything that she did? And then
I think that's what Naughty Dog was like really touching on, is that, like, you know, they try, each character tries like justify the violence that they do by saying, oh well, this person killed someone I love, and then the other person goes, yeah, well, they killed someone I love. But then it's like, if we keep on going down this path of revenge and this path of violence, it's never gonna end. Someone's like, always
worth it?
Yeah, exactly. And that's like that's the like the thesis, like they kind of approach at the end of the game. Like, none of it is really worth it, you know. Granted, that doesn't mean, like, you know, if someone murders someone you love, like, let them get away with it, you know. I'm granted, in the real world, we'll, like, you know, go through like the justice system. Like now, but this is like a post-apocalyptic world where there is no justice system, where it's all blood for blood, an eye for an eye.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with you guys 100%. And the reason I brought that up is because that's another thing, a large part of the conversations that's happening. Everybody's like, oh, Ellie should have killed Abby at the end. She was justified in doing that. But that's why, agreeing with you, Alex, the whole approach of this game is like, well, if Ellie's justified in doing that, how come Abby isn't? Or are any of them justified? And I think the game's really exposing a lot of people for being hypocrites too, because I mean, obviously we have a large attachment to Ellie, so it's like we're gonna side with her, and that's the reason why, you know, the whole second half of the game had to happen, was so you could flip it around and say, well, let's follow from Abby's point of view. Let's see why she did this act.
Right.
And that's another thing too, because a lot of people are painting Abby as, you know, this black as nails. You know, she's the villain of the story. Ellie's the protagonist. But at the end of the day, it's like, well, we followed Abby's point of view. We could see that she actually had a little bit remorse for what she did. She's not just, she's not Negan from The Walking Dead. She's just cracking jokes, smashing people's brains in. Her smashing Joel's head, and she had to think back. And this is where, again, the direction of this game is so brilliant. It has that flashback of her finding her dad on the floor, and then it cuts into the scene where she's just about to hit Joel over the head. All those thoughts are coming back to her at that moment where it's like, no, I have to do this. Then I would find some type of relief and resolution. But she doesn't.
I think the other important thing too is like she goes back to that flashback of finding her father dead, and then throughout all the transitions between each day in Seattle, she keeps on dreaming about that day where she finds her father dead, and she'll go back and she'll find Lev and Yara dead. So it shows that even though she got her revenge, she got her justice. Her father's death is something that still haunts her to this day, and like that's never gonna go away. Like that never-ending violence isn't gonna cure that.
Exactly.
I think you made I had told you this a few days back regarding the way people are talking about this game. I feel like it's split into two different groups. The first group is just extremely homophobic and transphobic. It's just gamers in general that obviously want that masculine thrill of being a man and being able to bash in skulls, which is completely what Naughty Dog is not trying to deliver here. And I feel like Naughty Dog's really trying to push the envelope here. And it shouldn't be pushing the envelope. But we've come to think of gaming as this masculine chore where we're supposed to be taking 2x4s and smash people in without no purpose. And it's like, Naughty Dog's really trying to do something different here. And I feel like those people that hate Abby, not all of them, but quite a bit of them have that underlying transphobia sort of deal going on. And then the second group of people, in my opinion, are the people that are just obsessed with Ellie and Joel. And they just love them. And they can't cope with the fact that Joel is dead. And they can't cope with the fact that maybe Ellie was justified person in this situation as well. They're both guilty in this situation. And I feel like it's important for people to kind of separate themselves from those two contexts and think deeper about the bigger picture rather than, just those two superficial sort of things.
I mean, I think that's true of just any type of media that depicts a toxic form of masculinity. Because definitely Joe in the first game, he's a very violent person, and people idolize that because they're like, yeah, that's what a real man is. And it's the same thing if you watch any Martin Scorsese gangster movie where Ray Liotta pistol whips the guy who assaults his girlfriend in Goodfellas, and people are like, yeah, that's awesome. That's the same thing I would do. It's like, no, he's not the good guy in that movie. And it's the same thing with Joe. Joe is not the good guy.
Yeah,
what I Oh, sorry, go ahead,
Jalen. No, you go ahead.
Okay. So I find it so interesting that a lot of people passed so much judgment on this game prior to its release. When the leaks came out with Abby killing Joel, they're like, "Oh my God, look at this trans girl. Look, she's a monster. Look how brolic she is." And then I saw some pieces of them saying, "Oh, it doesn't even make sense of how Abby is so strong. It's like Naughty Dog has this agenda, is trying to push this this homophobe, not homophobe, but this gay agenda, this LGBTQ agenda on me." And I'm like, okay, I'm listening to you, but I'm like, I don't think that's the case here. And then within the first 5 minutes of you playing as Abby in the second half of the game, it clearly explains to you why she's so jacked up.
Yeah.
you cross it, you literally pass by a gym where everybody's safe, everybody's well fed, and everybody's just in there pumping iron. And then I sat there, I was like, okay. So a lot of the people who passed judgment on this game didn't even get to the second half.
Not to mention on the island, as soon as she stopped eating, she stopped getting calories in and protein. She was skinny, bro. She lost all of that muscle mass, and that's over a few months.
And not even just then too. If you realize when they first got to Santa Barbara, she was already getting leaner.
Yeah.
At that point, she was already getting leaner. It was only when she was severely malnourished that you saw that she was kind of comparable to Ellie at that point. Yeah. But it's like, yo, people really didn't even think about Like, while I'm playing the game, I was like, why did everybody call this girl gay, a trans character? I was like, wait, she's not even like. I was waiting for the point in the game where I was like, okay, is she gay? I was like, no, she's the straightest character in the entire game.
Once you get to that seed, yeah.
I was like, hold on, she's straight. So I'm like, okay, so is it just that people don't like the fact that they killed their favorite toxic male? That she was the one who killed their favorite toxic male? Or is it that like they just have this profound love of Ellie and Joel? Like I don't know. I just couldn't see the valid criticism because of what Naughty Dog was trying to put in the game.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And I think it's like you were saying, Josh, earlier, it's a mix of both, right? Like you definitely have the homophobic and transphobic group that as soon as they saw a buff woman, oh, no, she's a man, she's a man. It's like, no, there's actual women that actually, you know, they're bodybuilders. Yeah. And, yeah, like you were saying, Waldinn, you go to the Wolf base, there's a gym there. It's actually a well-stocked gym, better than, I was telling Josh, it's better than New York Sports Club. They have a lot of equipment. And funny thing about that, too, I was just playing it earlier before we started recording. And, you know, I'm trying to platinum the game. I'm being a little nerd. I zoomed in to the gym there, and I don't know if you guys noticed, they have like the scoreboard there, and it has like what weights everybody lifted, who's first place. Of course, Abby's first place, and it says she lifted 205 pounds. So I'm like, yeah, she puts in that work, and it shows, you know. So that, yeah, people are jerks. But then, yeah, there's also that camp of people who, you know, I don't want to just label them all as homophobic and transphobic. Yeah. There's people that just really love Joel and Ellie, and they don't like the fact that Abby kind of took these characters away from what they knew them to be in the last game. So I want to get into that also. How do we feel about Ellie throughout this game? Because he definitely goes through a lot of changes in this game. I'll just start off by saying I love the direction they took for her character. I'd never really agreed with any of her choices she made throughout the game. Probably not until like the very end. But I thought, yeah, this is what you do with a sequel. You don't just make, like I was saying earlier, you don't just make a cookie cutter. Oh yeah, Joel and Ellie, they're living happily ever after. Da 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 da. It's like, no, like something traumatic happens to her. She has PTSD, and yeah, she's going out. She's on this kill fest here. She has tunnel vision. She's not thinking logically. Even with all these characters trying to point out to her, like, wait, Ellie, let's slow down and think about, like, why didn't they kill you and Tommy? She's like, I don't care. I just want her dead. She killed Joel. And it's like, they're trying to, you know, invoke that emotion from the gamer where it's like, yeah, you're supposed to feel that way. Like, yeah, you took Joel from me. I had fun playing as him in the last game. Let's kill her. But, yeah, it's part of the brilliance of it where Ellie doesn't really have that moment of clarity until the very end of it. So you're spending, like, I would say, probably like 16 hours of her making bad choices after bad choices. How did you guys feel about Ellie throughout this game?
Yeah, I really like the progression of her character because especially in the first game, she's very innocent and very naive to the world that she's in. She like for the majority of her life, she has been sheltered, and so when she actually has to go out into the world and has to survive, you see that naivety just like kind of grow smaller as like her survival instincts kick in a lot more. You saw that with the cannibals in the first game and how that like completely destroyed her. And then you see in this game how her survival instincts kick in even more, and how she's also like bloodlust, and she's basically turning to Joel, like going down the same path Joel went down when Joel lost his daughter, and now she lost her father figure, and now all she cares about is surviving and getting revenge, and she'll do that by any means necessary. Mm-hmm. And you even see that when she goes to kill Mel and Owen, she really does not care. She's like, I need to find Abby. She needs to pay for what she did. And she doesn't realize the consequences of her actions until she kills Mel, opens up her jacket, and realizes that she just killed a pregnant woman. And I remember playing that part because we all know Mel was pregnant because we saw Owen tell Abby. I was like, oh no, you're going to make me kill a pregnant lady, aren't you? Please don't make me do it. And then I did, and I'm like, oh man, I don't know if I can continue playing. And I still continued playing.
Yeah, right. That was tough too. And I will say, like, this is me nitpicking, but if I was pregnant, obviously I can't be, but if I was, that would be the first thing I would point out, like, hey, let's not, evolve this into anything. I'm having a baby. How about we don't try to kill each other? But no, she just went in full attack mode, and well, now you're dead. But Waldinn, how did you feel about Ellie throughout this game?
Honestly,
Say something, bro.
Truthfully, Ellie became the character that I thought Abby was going to be. Ellie became the main villain of the game very quickly in my eyes.
I think that's why I can't dip below an 8.5 in my rating, because I think it's just wonderful that I played the first half of that game and I absolutely loved Ellie. I loved it. Like, I loved her as a character. It was great. Like, I enjoyed it so much. And when we got to that midpoint where it was like, you know, in my head, I'm just like, oh, this dumb piece of shit came to kill Ellie. I was tight. I was like, yo, let's kill her. Let's finish her off. It's over. And what we found out as we went on through the game, like, first of all, it was terrible to play as Abby. Like, damn, they really worked us up, and then they shot us into Abby's shoes, and I'm just like, I want to kill her. I don't want to do this right now. But as it progressed on, I would say that's Naughty Dog's masterpiece in this game. That's like their, I forgot what they call it, but it's like basically like their gunshot. It's like their win, where they completely made me love Abby and hate Ellie after that second sequence. And that is insane to me, to have a main character that has been beloved for, you know, the first game. And I already loved her halfway through the second game, and I thought nothing could sway that. But just letting us play, I want to say roughly 7 hours or so as Abby, and, you know, just all her interactions, everything she did. Geez, I just ended up hating Ellie, and I don't know, like, that's just the way I ended up feeling about Ellie towards the end of the game. I'm just like, wow, Ellie's really a terrible person. Like, in that final fight when they were in the theater, when it finally flashes back, I was no longer in the camp of, oh, let's kill Abby. I was just like, yo, I'm gonna kill her, bro. I'm tired of Ellie. Like, I want to axe her off the face of the earth. So I think that's a testament to Naughty Dog's masterpiece, in the sense of, wow, you build up a character for a whole game and a half, and then within a few hours, you just make me absolutely detest her. That is absolutely amazing. I was not expecting that, and that is just like, I don't think I've ever played a video game that has done that to me. Never.
It's amazing what they could do just with 7 hours of gameplay, where you come from a character you completely hate to like, I really empathize with her.
When I just completely saw Ellie as the bad guy, completely. Going through her entire section of the game, that 7-hour portion for me, from the portion where we left Dina at the theater onward until we get to the aquarium, I hated that gameplay completely. Like, it felt like it didn't feel like it wasn't a slog in gameplay terms, but in terms of what I was doing and what I had to do, I was like, yo, like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. I'm like, okay. I just have to get to the checkpoint. That's it. I just have to keep moving along, because I know what I was doing. I was going on a huge murder spree. Yeah. And especially when the first time you had to kill a dog, Lord have mercy. I don't know if you guys experienced this, but I tested this out. The first time I saw the dog, I was like, okay, I'm going to kill the dog first. And then I hear the owner say, oh my God, Max, oh my God. And I'm like, yo, I just killed a dog, bro. And then when you switch it around and when you kill the owner as Ellie, you just hear the dog whimpering. And I'm like, bro, like, even the dogs don't mess with you, Ellie. Like, I just felt so bad. And I know the entire game is gray. Like, there's no black and white in this game. The entirety is gray. The WLF are evil. The Sephirite, whatever, the Scars, because I can't say that name. The Scars, they're completely bonkers, but they have some humanity to them as well. But I just feel as if Naughty Dog made it their point to try to make Ellie seem like the bad guy. You go through this entire section of the game, killing off the WLF, killing the girl with the Vita, and then you go as Abby, meeting that girl, and she's the sweetest person.
So the interesting thing that I found out the other day, because me and Jalen were like, I finished the game and I was getting into it with him, because we were just disagreeing on so much. But then I want to ask kind of everyone in here, how did you play the game? Because I feel like this is something that hasn't really been discussed yet in reviews. Granted, I haven't read a lot of reviews. You can correct me on that if you need to. But how did you play the game? Because I feel like if you played the game aggressive as hell, which I did, like I was just out there just stabbing everyone. Even when I didn't have to, I was like snapping necks. So sociopath probably. But yeah, like that's how I played the game. But do you think that the way you played the game affected your perspective? And explain.
I think so. Definitely, because I feel as if the game forced me as Ellie to be a little bit more aggressive. They put me in more situations where like I can't really stealth. Like, of course, the environments were made for stealthing, but it was a situation where okay, there's a lot of WLF, there's a lot of Seraphites, there are dogs everywhere, there are snipers in the window. Like, I can't really move in this area without just murdering everybody or silently taking them down. So what I did was, as Ellie, I, for the most part, went through all my ammo and murdered everybody. and even when, and I noticed too, even when doing silent takedowns between the two characters, and you could really see the two different journeys that they were on. If you were playing as either or off the jump, like if you caught somebody who was like if you were already in combat and you came up and stuck behind somebody and put them down, it was going to be either a neck snap or a knife to the neck, either or. But when you were stealthing, I noticed Abby, she didn't really kill anybody because there were some animations where she visibly snaps their neck, but there are some animations where she just kind of like slowly strangled them, almost like knocking them out like Batman would, like just putting them to sleep for a little bit. I wonder if Naughty Dog made us like did that so we could think to ourselves, oh, like are we actually killing them while doing that as Abby? But Ellie, no. Ellie, she just takes the knife straight to the jugular every single time.
And she's like also very aggressive about it because like as soon as she grabs him, she's like, "Shut up!" And then she's like, "Bam!" Like right into that.
Have you spun the camera around and looked at Ellie's face? How intense?
See, I never did that. Like I hear everybody talking about it. It's like my next playthrough, I'm gonna have to do that. But yeah, no, it gets very aggressive. And with me personally, I suck at stealth games. Like I struggle with The Last of Us, both of it, because like, I'm terrible at stealth. I don't have any patience for stealth. Yeah. So I'll be like trying to sneak up on people, and then I get caught, and I'm like, okay,
flip door,
bam, bam. And so I just end up in like all these shooting sprees. And the one thing I noticed is like you shoot someone, and they scream in pain. They don't just instantly die. They scream in pain for a while, and you're like, I'm sorry. And then you just continue like going on, like shooting everybody. And then you hear like all these NPCs like calling each other by name, like, oh Max, oh John, Ellis, and so like it really puts you in this position that like you're not a good guy and that these are actual people that you're killing. They're not like faceless goons.
Yeah, and I mean I guess that's where we differed. Because I actually, as Ellie, I was able to like stealth majority of the encounters. I was telling Josh this when we were speaking about it. And I guess that's because I'm just a big Last of Us nerd. Like I've studied that first game. I know like how to get through every encounter just by completely avoiding conflict. And so when I could do that in this game, I did. Throw a glass bottle, throw a brick, get the dog off your scent, go prone in the grass. That was actually one of the first things I went to upgrade to was crawl faster while proning. And it's clutch, bro. But yeah, I've tried to avoid as much as I could. But of course, obviously, there's situations where, all right, well, I'm just gonna take this guy out. It's the easiest way to do it. Put on a little silencer, snap him in the head or whatever. But it is that point where it's like, yeah, you look at Ellie, and when you do have somebody, you grab them and you go to shank them. It's that progression too, because when she first gets to Seattle, and I noticed this too, like the first guy I grappled and I shanked. She's like, oh, please don't move. But as the game, through those 3 days in Seattle, it progresses on. She's just getting fed up with it. It's like, shut the F up. And shank. I'm like, oh, Jesus, Ellie, relax. You're kind of aggressive here. But to that point about the gameplay dictating how you view the narrative, I think it is a very interesting point, and it's something I guess I want to see like everybody else's on the internet's perspective of it. But for me personally, I don't think it really has that much of an impact whether you stealth, avoid, or go guns blazing. Only because I think at the end of the day, it's survival in this world. Ellie, she learned everything she does in this game from Joel. Joel taught her what you got to do to live. And just in every situation she was in, it's a fight to the death. It's kill or be killed. And I think it's an interesting and intricate point that they made that the WLF, they're going to shoot on sight. Like, because of that situation at the school where you're lighting up everybody trying to escape, they're going to shoot you on sight now. So even if you walk up to somebody, it's not like a GTA moment where, oh, busted, you're going to jail. It's like, no, you're going to die now because of what you did. So I don't know if that necessarily, for me at least, it didn't really change my perspective of the gameplay, of the narrative, I mean. But it is an interesting point. And I also do want to bring up that as far as Ellie trying to imitate Joel and Tommy throughout this game, I think, Alex, you brought that up earlier. It is pretty cool because especially in that scene with Owen and Mel, and she's like, all right, point to the map, and it better be the same point that he points to. And it's like, that's something she got directly from Joel in the first game. But you can see it's like, well, she's not Tommy or Joel. She's still just a 19-year-old girl, and things go wrong instantly for her throughout the game. At the hospital when she had to torture Nora, who it's unfortunate. I was going to say this too. I love my black queens, but I felt like every time I had to like go take out a black woman in this game, it was extremely aggressive. I was like, yo.
It was so aggressive, bro.
I'm like, yo, wait a minute. Hold on.
Not even that. We had the roided up dude in the Resident Evil level, bro.
Oh, my God.
That man did not die.
He had his jaw taken off, and he was still scrapping. I'm like, dude, die. At least pretend to die.
Like, he's on steroids, not Abby.
But yeah, so it's like that whole sequence, and the fact that they actually make you play that when you're torturing Nora, you got to keep tapping square and she's smacking her with the pipe. You see that she's shaken up after that too,
Jeez. At the end of that chapter, bro, I was like, yo, get me off of this game, please, please. I hated that chapter so much. Oh, my God.
Just makes you feel gross.
Like, that's something out of like a nightmare, man. I was like, damn.
And I've always
and then
said,
we got go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just saying,
ahead,
like we usually when you get stories like this where the protagonist is the bad guy, where violence is clearly wrong in this world, it's usually something that's like in a book or in a movie or something like Taxi Driver.
Mm-hmm.
But like I've never seen a game that like puts me in this position where you are clearly a bad guy and what you're doing is like actually hurting people. Like, sure, we've played as bad guys before in like GTA or something, but like that's fun. Robbing banks in GTA is fun. Going on killing sprees in GTA is fun. And this game, it's not fun. And like when you do actually kill these people, like you feel miserable doing so because like you're killing actual people.
Yeah, for sure. I think the only other game that really made me feel bad for like killing all these NPCs actually was Red Dead Redemption 2, but that was only because it's like it has an honor system. So it's like, you know what? I like Arthur Morgan a lot. I want to finish this game that he's remembered as an honorable man. So I'm not going to kill anybody.
So the thing for me is like, games like where you can kill NPCs, like let's say Far Cry and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I always play those games like on all my saves. I legitimately have 0 like friendlies killed. Like if I kill a friendly, I will actually X out my game and start over again. Because like, I don't know, it just feels weird. Like I've always been like that, but then somehow in Last of Us, bro, maybe you're like it's the environment, like where I'm just like okay with stabbing everyone in the neck, but then somehow in other games I'm like all sensitive and shit about it, and I'll close out my save and restart if I like by accident kill someone with an RPG or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think Last of Us really sends home that survival point, and it geared me in my head like, well, I might as well.
Listen, everybody else is doing it. Why can't I,
Whoa.
But yeah, I mean, and I think that brings up the interesting point because while we talked about Ellie and Abby, they have their own personal storylines going on. But in the background, you actually have this whole other meta story here with the Wolves versus the Seraphites. They're having their own type of conflict going on here. And I thought it was actually interesting, too, that they don't really try to bring it to the forefront until we get to Abby's part. And even when we do get to Abby's part, it's about saving Lev. Let's save Yara. Let's get out of here and try to move on with our lives. But the fact is, it's like, well, first of all, you brought in Jeffrey Wright to play as Isaac. And it's like, holy crap, that's huge. It's like you would think he's an important character, but he only has like 2 scenes in here. But I thought it was interesting, too, because it provides, and the notes, too, throughout the game, provide some context to, all right, well, even their situation's not a complete black and white thing, you know? Like, there's really no good guys and bad guys here. Isaac, he's definitely an egomaniac. He's torturing people. These Seraphites here and whatnot. But the thing is, it's like, and you think the Seraphites, they're kind of crazy too, because they're over here hanging people and gutting them and just completely graphic. But you read the notes and it's like, all right, well, the Seraphites and the Wolves, they actually had a truce at one point. But the Wolves, they broke that truce. And so now that's why they're all in this war here. And that's why Ellie's caught in the middle of the both of them here, just firing at all cylinders. So I thought even having that perspective of the game, it's like, all right, it ties everything around into like this cool, I know everybody's talking about the cycle of violence here, but it really is true. It's like, this is what happens when there's no type of communication going on at all. This is what happens when you just let hate dictate all your choices in life. You're going to get just a mess of everything, you know? I don't know how you guys felt about that whole storyline going on.
I actually had the same point with the WLF and the Seraphites too. Like throughout the entire game, we learned that, you know, they're committing horrendous acts against each other. The Scars disemboweling the WLF, and the WLF just murdering on sight, no matter what, if they're aggressive or not. But I find it interesting that the WLF, they broke that ceasefire. Mm-hmm. And in those papers, you can see how the Scar leaders, they did want peace. And they were willing to choose that alternate path of peace. But the WLF, because of Isaac, just ordered to kill on sight and igniting the war again. And we see exactly where this led. That huge fight that happened on the Scar home island that led to the demise of both the WLF, well, most of the fighting force of the WLF and the entire Scar home base.
I think that you're making a really good point, actually, because I hate human nature. I hate saying human nature exists and blah, blah, blah. But human beings are pretty selfish.
Yeah.
We are pretty selfish. And granted, like, I'm not justifying the WLF, but it's just like, yeah, I should have seen this one coming. Because there's always a group that wants peace. And you would, the way the game sets it up, you would never expect it to be the Sephirites. I keep wanting to say Sephiroth. And
just call them Scars. I know that's like the offensive term according to Lev, but
according to Lev, yeah. But yeah, it's just like they paint them out of these bad guys, but they're misunderstood. I feel like there's a lot of parallels to be drawn in real life. I'm not going to draw them, but you could probably think of a lot of examples where there's groups that are clearly marginalized, and there's just someone with more power. Like the WLF infinitely just has more manpower, more like you go to their base, these people have a gym. So you already know like they got the whole arsenal in there. I wouldn't be surprised if these folks pull out a tank or something like that.
Right.
Imagine.
But I love that aspect of the game. I really did love it. Like at first I was kind of annoyed that we only had to deal with WLF because I completely forgot, all the images of, like the themes and stuff where there was people in hoods. And like that for me renewed interest back in the game because I was just like, okay, there's a creepy faction here. I could be interested in this. I can invest a little bit more into it. If it was straight WLF throughout the game, I would have got pretty bored really fast.
Yeah.
Think about. Oh, my bad. Go ahead.
What you were saying?
Yeah, like I was thinking, like think about the parallels between just the WLF and the Seraphites between Abby and Ellie too.
Yeah.
Like there was a whole truce between the WLF and the Seraphites. WLF broke that truce. Same thing with Abby and Ellie.
Bro, Ellie's dumb, though. I don't want to hear it.
Abby kicked Ellie's ass.
Oh
my God, she kicked her ass. kicked her entire ass. Like, and Ellie still came back and almost died again. And it's crazy. Just did not want to stop, and that almost led to both of their demise. Just how it happened with the WLF and the Seraphites.
Bro, that got me so upset. Like how deeply, like that's why I said the game loses itself in revenge, because it's like how deeply like caught up in this whole revenge thing can you be for you to want to give up the perfect, like picturesque, like it's just the perfect life, the farm. You got the girl, you got a family. You're still allowed to go back to Jackson if you really wanted to, but you're living a peaceful life on a farm. but you really got to go out there and find her on a completely different state.
2 states down.
Yeah, and I'm just like that's where I felt like the game lost itself in revenge, because if the game ended there, it would have been a 10 out of 10 for me. 100% would have been a 10 out of 10 for me. But the game did not end there, and that's where it started losing points. I realized that the game really didn't lose any points up until that point. Like, it was a masterpiece for me up until then. And that's when I started struggling to understand what was really going on here, because it was like, it's easy to say that, yes, she wanted revenge, but it's like, that is some deep investment in revenge.
Yeah, I definitely feel the same way, where the game kind of drags on after the scene at the farm. Because I feel like I thought right then and there, like, that was gonna be the end of the game, where Ellie like still has is like dealing with PTSD, and she has like kind of cope with that. She has to live with Joel's death for the rest of her life and still feel guilty about that. But like that would have been the perfect ending, because she's no longer set on revenge. She's living that life. She's done with it. But then the game continues going on, and it continues to have like hammer home this point. Well, I feel like it does in a good way. But it definitely, there are multiple points within that entire ending where I feel like, okay, you can end here and that's it. It's already done. And it keeps on going. It's like, okay, we'll end here and then we're done. And it's like, nope, keeps on going. It's like, seriously, how much longer do you have to like drag this out?
You know, I had that same point, but thinking about it, seeing Abby beat Ellie's ass, right? And Lev almost killing Dina with that bow, and then, you know, Abby with the knife to her neck, literally.
Mm-hmm.
And then from jumping from that scene straight to Ellie living happily ever after, in my mind, I was like, no. She does not deserve a happy ending. She does not deserve it. But I thought that's where the game was going to end. I was going to be like, you know what? Fuck Ellie, but the game's done. I get it. I see what they were trying to do there. Like, part of me was happy, but part of me was upset the fact that we had to continue more. Like, the happy part was, okay, the game doesn't end here. Probably something's going to happen, because I truly don't think that Ellie deserved that happy ending whatsoever. She's a piece of shit. But at the same time, it was like, okay, I could see how there's a finality to this. Like, this is the end of The Last of Us right there. Her living happily ever after, her coming to peace with Joel. But apparently we never got that. I don't want to delve too deep into the actual ending until we actually get there.
Well, I mean, let's talk about it now, because that was actually one of my points is that I definitely agree with you guys. And I was telling you this is that, yeah, the pacing is awkward. And especially once you get to that Santa Barbara part, the game feels like, well, honestly, the game felt like 3 games in one, because I felt like, you know, Ellie's portion is one game, then Abby's portion, that could have been like a standalone game. But then the Santa Barbara part, like, I felt, because we go to a whole different state, that just feels like its own separate thing in itself. But there's things that I like about it, though. It's that the first thing, well, I like the fake out, because you think the game is ending once you're on the farm. It's like, oh, this is with an epilogue ending, kind of like Uncharted 4, right? Where if you guys played Uncharted 4.
Don't get me started on
Well, if you played it, and then it's like, oh, you play as spoilers for that, Nathan and Drake's daughter, or Nathan and Elena's daughter, and you know they're living happily ever after, retired or whatever. They started a family, but this game is the fake out where it's like, well, this is not that world. We got to get back into the action. And I saw a couple of people saying that the game felt long-winded, and it's like I definitely agree with that. At the same time, I felt like it was necessary, because Ellie, she hasn't really hit rock bottom until that point, you know, if you guys get what I'm saying. You know, she got her like you said, she got her tail whooped by Abby. She never had that moment of clarity. It was like, well, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Not until she goes and, well, rescues Abby and then tries to kill her again. But that's when the whole game kind of tied back together for me, because you kind of see it's like, oh, this was never really about Abby. This is more about Ellie's frustrations with Joel. Oh, your little statue. But yeah, I think because that's why I'd like, there was another fake out with the 2 flashback scenes where it flashes back to that night before the game all started, where they're at the dance. Ellie and Dina gets called, not so nice word. I don't want to say in fear of demonetization. But Joe pushes the dude, and then Ellie tells him off, like, I don't need your effing help. And we, as the players, are thinking, yo, that was the last thing that you told to Joel right before he died? That's foul. But then while I'm thinking about it, it's like, well, wait a minute. In the patrol mission, everybody's asking like, yo, are you and Joel okay? And she even tells Dina like, yeah, no, I was going to invite Joel to see a movie tonight. I'm like, how did y'all get from I don't need your effing help to I was inviting him to a movie? Which is why I think that last flashback was so perfect. And it made me choke up. I'm not going to lie. I'm a little bitch, but I don't care. She actually does go and try to reconcile with Joel. But what was so interesting about that is that she never really does forgive him. She never really had the chance to. She says, I don't think I can ever forgive you, but I would love to try. And, you know, Joel starts choking up and it's like, oh, yeah, I would like that. But because of Abby, she kind of robbed that opportunity away from Ellie in that, you know, yo, you kind of took this away from me. I was just trying to get back to terms with this guy that I looked up to as a father. And you kind of just took that whole opportunity away from you. So I can't really move on with my life now.
To be fair, Joel robbed the fucking whole world of a cure. So.
Yeah, well, that's the other point too. The whole game is like it's all about perspective. It's like, yeah, I get that. Well, Abby's like, yeah, I robbed your father, but he robbed mine. So,
out of curiosity, with the SMG at the end of the game, did you guys only get 30 bullets? Because that was like the biggest dick tease of the century. Like they gave us the SMG, and then 30 bullets goes by.
Well, here's the thing. New Game Plus, you actually get all your weapons back from the start.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, no, not the actual start from like. Detroit.
Oh yeah, like once you get to
from
Seattle. Yeah.
I mean, for I got a decent amount of bullets for that. But like it's The Last of Us, and so because of that, like you barely get any bullets for any of your guns. Which is why I suck at this game because I suck at stealth, and then I always end up in shootouts, and then I'm out of bullets. But yeah, for most part, I didn't get a whole lot of bullets for that. And what I did get, I had to like use sparingly. I mostly used it for stealth because it had a silencer. But just like onto the ending, I feel like everything that happens in the ending was great, and like it definitely fits within the story. It's just my biggest issue was like the amount of fake outs it had, which is like where I draw the comparison to Return of the King, because Return of the King had like there were so many points where like, you thought it was gonna end, fades to black, like okay, I'm getting ready to leave the theater, and then it's like nope, here's another ending to Lord of the Rings. It's like oh great, but like same thing with Return of the King, where like all those endings work. It's just I didn't appreciate the fake outs. Same thing with The Last of Us, where like I feel like you could have paced it out better, in a way where. You delivered all that without like all the fake outs, without making me feel like, okay, now I'm done with the game. Nope, I've still got more. Okay, well, I guess I'll go back.
Yeah, no. And I mean, I think also to the point, I just want to reiterate that, like, yeah, Ellie really, to get from her getting her ass whooped by Abby to the ending where she's able to move on from Joel and find that inner resolution, I think that's where I was like, I'm at conflict with the game because it's like, it feels so unnecessary, but it had to happen to get from point A to point B, right? Because, I mean, even just, and I guess I definitely sympathize with you, Waldinn, why you see Ellie as a complete piece of garbage. Because it's at the point where it's like, she sees Abby, she's crucified pretty much, malnourished, and it's like, nah, I can't let you live, yo. To the point she's actually...
Yeah, she even like threatened to kill Lev, which like
I was about to say, yeah,
that was going way too far. Like
Lev is a child, child,
my son.
If anything, they have the same relationship that Joel and Ellie had in the first game, which was what's kind of so scary about it. Like Ellie was in that position, and yet she's willing to kill that person just for revenge.
And I think that's why she kind of stopped herself from that, because she kind of saw that parallel in that moment too, where she's drowning Abby, putting her underwater. And then she has that flashback. She doesn't have – because, you know, usually throughout the game, Ellie has the flashback of seeing Joel, like, beaten down by Abby. But in that moment, she had the flashback of her actual last interaction with Joel. So she was able to see, like, all right, well, this was the moment I decided I could try to forgive Joel. I see a lot of Joel within you. I'm going to try to forgive you and move on with my life.
Honestly, it would have made me feel better if Ellie just killed her, because it made the whole game feel kaput. It was just like, we worked all – and I get it. I get it from a deeper character – progression level, but it was just like, just go full circle with it. Like, for fuck's sake, we based the whole premise of this game, like, it's kind of like that meme, like, we didn't accomplish the goal, but the friends we made along the way. And it's kind of it's kind of like
the friends we killed.
Yeah, exactly. It's the friends we killed. So it's like, I would have preferred it to just come full circle. Like, I love Abby, but I just wished one of them killed the other, so it didn't feel like that whole last level was a waste. Like, you really had to travel all the way to California and get abducted by some – not abducted, but, you know.
Well, it was a waste. It was a waste in terms of their two stories in relation to each other. But in terms of the overall Last of Us story, you know, Ellie, she had to save her. so that she could, eventually go ahead to Catalina Island, to progress the story. But tell me not, when they're telling us to press square at that sequence when they clash in the water, I didn't know who I was playing as. I didn't press square at all because I was like, oh, who am I? Am I Ellie? Am I Abby? Because I'm like, all right. And then it got to a point where every time I pressed, I was really off sync because I didn't know what the hell was going on. Every time I pressed square, Abby would strike. So I was like, oh, yeah, shit. Yeah, I'm Abby. Let's go. I'm like, wait, shit. I died. I'm Ellie. I was like, oh, no. Like, pressing square, I was like, yo, I don't want to do this. I do not want to do this. Like, that part was probably the hardest part of the game for me. Like, almost choking out and drowning Abby.
You know what's funny? People say it's the opposite. The hardest part was hunting Ellie.
They're sissies, and they didn't.
Oh, that was
can't
easy.
do that to Ellie.
I had fun. I
had fun, bro. I was like, yeah.
Nah, Ellie was OP, bro.
If you guys saw my stream highlights when I was beating Ellie's ass,
bro, from a game perspective,
stupid, pink. Yeah. Oh, you're a punk. Nah, she's a punk. Yeah, hold on. Yeah. Nah. Yeah, Pink. Get up. Ah!
Motherfucker.
What did you guys enjoy more playing as, Ellie or Abby? Because I absolutely enjoyed playing as Abby. Abby was just fun.
I think in terms of gameplay, I had a lot more fun as Ellie, and just like her stealthiness and stuff. But in terms of like story and like getting like what's the word I'm looking for? I forget. But just in terms of like who was more right in the situation, like definitely Abby. And like so when I was beating on Ellie in the theater, it's like Ellie had it coming. Like which is sad to hear because I love Ellie. But Ellie had it coming.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of like in the opposite. Well, I have had more fun gameplay-wise playing as Abby, but story-wise, I felt Ellie's portion was more focused and had more direction. But the fact is, and they did it on purpose because they wanted people, I don't know if they succeeded for many people, but for me, they did. If you notice, they gave Abby the more fun parts, like the more action-packed parts. You're fighting the Rat King, bro. Like, dog, when I saw that junk, I was like, yeah. Josh, you hyped it up for me, too. I was like, this is about to be some bull. And you just see that junk coming down. It's like, yeah.
Was that like a wolf stuck in it? I looked at it in the model render thing.
Bro, honestly, I want to see somebody write like some type of novel like describing what the hell is that thing, because they described it as like these were the first people infected. So obviously they were there for 25 years, but how the hell did y'all all form into one blob? Did y'all like get on the same fungus patch? And then I don't like Voltron, right? Like that junk was crazy. But yeah, I think Abby, she had like the better weapons. That semi-auto that you could put a scope on and then turn into a 3-burst, a crossbow. Level design, like the level designs. You're fighting infected on a ferry. That whole sky bridge sequence when you have
that was hands down my favorite in the game.
That was sick.
Nothing comes with that.
Whenever they make the multiplayer, that used to be a map ASAP.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I think Abby, I definitely have fun playing as her. But for my personal taste, I enjoyed Ellie's portions more, just because I felt like there was more focus in those scenes. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I felt going back to the ending. Yeah, it's definitely that little to get from point A to point B. It felt like we took a long way to get there, but it definitely had to happen. But specifically with the ending itself, like that last scene where Ellie goes back to the farm. Sees that Dina's gone, tries to play the guitar, and then walks off. How did you guys feel about that? Because the way I interpreted it was, if you guys remember from the first Last of Us, the kid Sam, he asks Ellie, like, well, what's your biggest fear? She's like, being alone. And then you get to this game, that's her worst fears came true. She gets back and she's alone. Dina and the baby left. Then it's to the point where she tries to play the guitar, plays the Pearl Jam song that Joel taught her throughout the game. But she can't do it because Abby bit off 3 of her fingers. So it's like for me, I thought that was actually really smart. And the way I could be wrong, but the way I interpreted it was Naughty Dog trying to show like her obsession of trying to, you know, find vengeance for Joel and taking down Abby. It ironically, it kind of took away that last connection that she had to Joel, because her hunting, if she had just let Abby go and just lived her life on the farm, she'd have all her fingers, be playing the guitar. She could have had that connection with Joel, but now she can't. She lost her fingers. But yeah, but the thing is, I love that last sequence of her putting the guitar down. Then the camera like pans over it. The guitar's in the foreground. She's walking off in the background. To me, that also meant like, all right, well, she's finally found closure with Joel. She's ready to lay him to rest, put him down. Let me live my life now. I don't have to go out for vengeance anymore. I'll just live. I don't know where she's going after that, but I like that ending point.
You know, mark this down. When The Last of Us 3 comes out at the end of the PS5 life cycle, because we know it will.
Yeah.
2027, Last of Us Part 3.
Facts.
We're going to be playing as Dina, probably at the end of the game, going back to that house to see if Ellie ever came back. We're going to find Ellie hanging in the barn with a note.
Damn.
We're going to see her skeleton hanging with a note on the floor. Or it's probably going to be, we're probably going to be
a collectible.
Probably. We're probably going to be playing as the boy. Because I feel as if, like, her entire arc, revenge gets you nowhere.
I honestly, for another game, bro, I need them to completely step away from Ellie and all of them. I don't want anything to do with them anymore. I just want them to go deal with the Fireflies or perhaps a new faction. Because I think what was cool about California is that it reminded us that there is a whole world out there with so many factions. And it's just such a big – and that's why, as much as I hate the last level, the one thing that it did good in it was that it reminded us there's a whole damn there's a whole world, honestly.
Oh, yeah, world
and
building.
It's like
definitely.
There's so many different competing factions. And I find it funny that no matter where you go in the world, there's some WLF people just hanging around every corner. And honestly, to survive up to that point, you probably did some grimy stuff. Let's face it. So I think for another game, man, I don't want to see Ellie. I don't want to hear a guitar, bro. Like I want us to be as far away from that as possible and truly explore something new. I think that's the next direction, because a lot of people said the first one didn't need a sequel, but I think more than anything, the first one needed a sequel.
Yeah, I definitely agree. The first one needed a sequel. In terms of this one, I honestly don't need to see more, because I feel like all the arcs are completed. You know, at the end of the first game, like Ellie's arc wasn't completed just yet, because she still had more of this world to explore and more growing to do. Now Ellie's fully grown. She's like fully grown into her character arc. Even Abby, I think she's fully grown into her character arc. I don't know where else they could take her character. And maybe you could do something with Lev or with Dina. But I think the story's done. Like, they've already told the story, and there's no further to go. So I'll be perfectly fine if this was the last installment of the game, of the franchise.
Yeah.
You know, I was telling Josh, I was like, I wouldn't mind seeing a Last of Us kind of prequel that's sort of like an imagining of what it was like being there when the emergence happened, when the disease was spreading, when the bombs were being dropped.
What was it called?
You know, I think Infection Day, was it?
Outbreak.
I was gonna say Emergence Day, like it's Gears of War.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I would actually love to play through that.
Yeah.
That would be pretty awesome.
Because we only really got like that prologue from the first game that actually detailed like the day of this is what went down. But yeah, that would be interesting. See, what happened?
I feel like if we were to do that, I wouldn't want to follow like Joel or Tommy or any of them. I would want to like follow a new original character, and like I would want the perspective to be of like them like trying to be civilized, like trying to help as many people as you can, and then like you just see that torn away as like the military just like continues like killing on innocent people, and then they like the main character probably has to kill people that they were close to. That's like starting to do things that like going to affect their survival. That's like that's the direction I would want to see that go if that ever does happen. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, see, like what you guys are saying, like that's exactly how I felt 7 years ago when I finished playing the first Last of Us. I was like, nah, this story, I liked how open-ended it was. Going back to what I was saying at the start of this, it's like I liked having all those questions that we could just discuss for years. But, you know, they went ahead and made a sequel because fuck me, I guess. But the fact is, it still came out pretty amazingly. So if they were to do something with Part 3, I'm not going to say no to it. Obviously, if they keep it up the quality this is, I'm pretty sure they'll come up with something cool. But I think it's to the point you guys are saying, it's like, I don't think it's necessary because everybody's arc. Everybody has that closure. At the end of the day, The Last of Us is a story about Joel and Ellie, and their stories came to a close. I also think that if we were to follow different characters, I would like to see it more in the style of like I don't know if you guys ever played the Uncharted standalone thing, the Lost Legacy thing, where it's like 8 hours long. Like if I could do like little mini series like that, then yeah, I'll be down for that. But I don't need to see like a full Last of Us game after that. So we got a few more parts to wrap it up soon. I want to talk about. We didn't talk about Tommy because he's another guy that came in like big conversations with this game. A lot of the discourses that they butchered Tommy's character, and that's another thing I completely disagree with. I think, and there's another. I think this game is exposing a lot of people that you guys aren't paying attention to the first game because the first game tells you that Joel and Tommy were not good people. I don't know how many times you got to reiterate that, but Tommy tells him like, "Yo, I had nothing but nightmares from those years. We were hunters killing innocent people." Yeah. So to see his progression into this game, and even this game talks about like Tommy had a dark past. He did some dark shit. We actually get to see it come to fruition. So how did you guys feel about Tommy? Did you feel like it was off the right direction for his character, or did they steer wrong?
So I think that they stayed true to his character for a very long time. It's just that barn scene, man. That gets me so annoyed. Why was he so mentally deranged in that last scene? Nothing would indicate he would be that bitter. Nothing. I mean, maybe the dude doesn't have like leg function anymore. Maybe that's what's getting him upset, and maybe that's what they're playing at. But like, I don't know. That felt very not Tommy-like. Like Tommy is very like you would expect when we first saw Tommy in the aquarium, like for him to be like all like like tweaking and like with a gun and stuff. But like he was really calm, and he was like really like he's like okay, it's fine, don't worry. Like he was fine, and then somehow this man is that bitter and that angry when he was talking to Ellie and like making it seem like Ellie has to go do like because he knew how much Joel cared about Ellie, and that's like putting Ellie in danger at that point, which I don't think Joel would ever agree with. And it's
I think at that point Tommy was just like really bitter because I at the final scene in the theater he was willing to move past it to move on, but then Abby comes in, kicks their butt again, and that's yeah, like she just obliterates all of them, and now he can't walk. He lost his eye. So I think at that point, yeah, he is just really bitter, and he was able to let it go the first time because he was seeing what it did to Ellie. But then he just became a lot more selfish at that point, where it's like, no, Ellie, you had to go kill Abby.
Yeah.
I think at that point he just lost everything. At that point, he lost his eye. He can't walk properly. He lost his wife. You know, I think that truthfully, because what I thought Tommy died right there when Abby put that to the back of the head. I feel as if Tommy, he wants to die. Truthfully, I think he would rather be dead at this point. You know, losing his brother, losing his wife, losing his eyesight, losing his walking functionality. All he has left is revenge. That's it. And he's living through that with Ellie. You know, I hope in the background somewhere, I hope like a novel comes out where we read if Ellie goes back and finds Tommy and if they have a discussion or something like that. I'd love to read that. But truthfully, I think that was like the progression of his arc. You know, he just went crazy. He lost everything.
Yeah. And you got to keep in mind too, like that's all in conflict from Abby. Like it's because of well, it all starts with Joel, of course, but it's because of Abby coming in. It kind of took away everything from Tommy. Took away his brother, like Waldinn say, took away his eye, took away his wife pretty much because she was done with him after that point. So it just left him as just this empty shell of a man, you know. But it's like, listen, I got nothing left. Just let me have this. I got to kill her. She has to die. She has to pay. I don't think he ever has that moment of clarity or closure that Ellie gets to have when she actually does hunt down Abby. That, all right, well, maybe it's time for me to live my best life and move on. But yeah, I definitely understand. Like, I get why people are saying that, you know, it was kind of a departure from his character, but yeah, I didn't agree. I don't agree. So going on, just final thoughts about it. Did the game's themes, did that clearly resonate with you guys after your playthrough with it? Because I felt like it was kind of overwhelming in a sense that there was a lot to pull away from. Of course, you have the cycle of violence and that cycle of revenge. What happens when hate overcomes all your emotions. But from stuff that I pulled out of it, it's like it was a game about perspective. Even talked about the process of the othering, how we're able to see stuff through specific lenses, and we're able to just make all these assumptions about other people, and it's very dangerous to do so. So I don't know, did all that come clear to you, or did you guys felt like it was a bit muddy, bit messy, and needed more direction with it?
I feel like all of it was pretty clear. Because just like throughout, it's just the world that the game puts us in, that like it's endless violence. That I don't know. There's always someone trying to kill somebody else, and no one's ever able to find peace. And that when you strip humanity down to like their basic core, that we are very violent people without like the walls of like civilization up.
Yeah. How about you guys?
I'm still thinking. You can go ahead, Josh.
Yeah.
I'm still thinking because I'm like,
That's a loaded question.
That's packed.
It succeeds. In short, it succeeds. It loses itself in the cycle of revenge, but it nails every other theme perfectly. But in terms of the cycle of revenge, I feel like it does lose itself in that one. But every other theme, just a masterpiece in the way they execute everything. The notes, they build up everything really nicely. It really is just an amazing game. It's like, yes, I'm giving it like an 8.59ish, but like that's not a bad score. Like for me, like a 10 out of 10 is on some innovative, groundbreaking, I don't know, Avatar. Yeah. Like it has to really.
Don't mention Avatar around Alex. He thinks that movie's highly overrated.
Avatar's okay. It's fine.
I still don't know what happened. I watched it when I was a kid. I was just like, blue people. But anyway, yeah, like I feel like to give it a 10 out of 10, it really has to do something innovative. And like while it does kind of do that with the flip with Ellie and Abby, don't think it's fully there, but nonetheless, amazing game. Top 3, top 5 easily on PS4.
I ultimately think the game does succeed with what it's trying to convey. I just think that more people need to give it time and actually play through the game. Don't listen to reviews that you see out there. For the most part, do not go to Metacritic. I implore you, don't do that. When you get through the game, though it may be long, you find out that Naughty Dog was able to do what they set out to do in telling a story that is based all around revenge and based on the fact that revenge isn't worth it. Revenge leads to nothing. So if I had to give this game a score, thinking about it, I was giving it an 8.5, but I'm leaning more towards a 9 right now. So I'd say it's a solid 9 in my eyes.
Yeah, I was in the same boat where playing through the game, it was like, and I usually don't do scores because as a Virgo, I'm just very indecisive. I flip-flop all the time. But if I was playing through, I was like, yeah, this is a clear 10 out of 10. I could see the 10 out of 10s, but yeah, it is because that part. And for me, I know you guys said it was specifically like the halfway part. For me, it was like once you get to Seattle Day 3 as Ellie, and you're with Jesse, and you're trying to find Tommy, but then it switches to go kill Abby. That's when the repetition of the game started getting to me, and I was like, this is kind of a slog. And then once you get to Abby, it definitely paces out very rarely because the flashbacks kind of messes up that flow. But it all ties again together perfectly. And once you get to the actual ending, for me, I absolutely loved it. So yeah, I think it was still like at a 9 out of 10 for me. Yeah, if I had to give it a score.
If we're giving scores, then for me it's definitely like a 9.5, like maybe almost a 10. The first Last of Us, I'll definitely give a 10. In terms of like gameplay and like the mechanics and the graphics, this is obviously better than The Last of Us 2. I'm better than the first game, but I think I'll need to play the game one more time, like really sit with it, like to decide whether or not I like the story more.
We actually didn't get to talk about it, but regarding Yara and what's the guy's name that was traveling?
Lev.
No, not Lev. It was the Asian guy from the beginning.
Oh, Jesse.
Jesse, yeah, regarding their deaths, did that feel weird to you? Because Yara really got me upset. Because it was like, we definitely just traveled to this Silent Hill place and we did an exchange of lives. Like, what? Like, did that bother you? Because it bothered me. I don't know.
I actually liked it just because, well, Yara's death, I didn't really feel a type of way about it, just because I knew that by the end of it, it was like, this is going to be an Abby and Lev tale. Just because they were setting up that whole Joel and Ellie thing. So I knew that Yara eventually, she was a test character. She had to get out the way somehow. As far as Jesse dying, I love that one because I think I was watching your stream, Waldinn, when you were streaming that part, and you was like, "Yo, this was so unceremonial." And I was like, "Yeah, I know. That's why I loved it." Because from Abby's point of view, it's like Ellie just murdering NPCs. To Abby, it was just like, "Oh, okay, let me just get this guy out the way. This guy's gonna shoot." And it's just so
You know what's crazy?
unceremonial.
You know what's crazy about when Jesse popped back up, right? During that heavy stealth section, I said to myself, why do I feel like Jesse's gonna die? Like he's just gonna walk through the door and just get shot in the head. And then I was like, oh, it happened! I was like, no way!
You put that out in the world. Jesse could have lived if you just kept your mouth
I
shut.
was like, no way. I was like, he's gonna open the door and get shot. Wow. Shit, man.
Yeah, that definitely hit me because like Jesse's like really likable character, just like really charismatic and really funny. And so I grew to really like him. And then like as soon as you walk the door, bam, shot in the head, he falls on the floor. It's like, oh, well, okay.
All right.
Did Jesse sound kind of black to you guys? Because when he first shows up, I thought he sounded like he was like a kid from New York that hung around a bunch of black kids. Just his accent.
He was definitely from the South. I think he was Southern.
Yo, Jesse was like easily like visually like when we first saw his character, I will never forget that scene. That is graphically the best scene I've ever seen on the
Sound
PS4.
like you want to sleep with Jesse or something, Josh. What's going on?
Whoa. All right, listen. I'm just saying, bro. The way the light hit this man's face and everything was bouncing, bro. I'm just sitting there like, yo, like
He's a good-looking man.
That's not that. It's just like the graphics of it.
I
Like,
know what you mean.
like it's insane what they did with this game, bro. They pushed the engine. Like, remember on PS3 when we first played GTA? You were like, oh my god, this is insane. Like, I feel like, imagine what things are gonna look like at the end of the PS5's life cycle. Like,
yeah, once this game comes out for PS5, that's gonna be crazy. First of all, 60 frames it needs to be, but just visually, it's gonna look. It already looks amazing. And shout out to all the Naughty Dogs out there who worked on this game so effortlessly. It's amazing. You guys got a masterpiece with this one. But yeah, so my laptop's like on 8% now, so I guess we'll wrap this up. Yeah, so that was our Last of Us Part 2 spoiler talk. Once again, thank you guys for joining me with this. I really appreciate it. We'll start with Josh. If you want people to follow you, where can they find you at?
I mean, I don't really have a YouTube or anything, but I have an Instagram. You probably can't spell it, so you're gonna have to put it in the bio. But Eshazo, so it's like French. You know,
I got you.
We'll put it in the bio.
Is Waldinn frozen?
I think so. He's the one that would like promote his stuff the most.
I'll do it for him because my laptop's legit on 5% now. Alex.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter as Jedi Master Alex, and you can also check out my letterbox. What's my name again? Alexander Zapata. I forgot my name. And definitely email us at thefilmschoolsnobs@gmail.com. And follow us on Instagram at thefilmschoolsnobs.
Yep, definitely. So thank you guys for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next one. So later.